He stood barely 5 feet tall, yet he served 3 reigns and held his ground among the warring states. He made the King of Chu blush in public. He set 3 fierce warriors against one another until they drew their own swords. He carried no blade. He had a quick tongue, a steady heart, and a humor that made people angry and impressed at the same time. His name was Yan Ying. Later generations honor him as Master Yan, Yanzi. Most of the stories we still tell about him are gathered in the Spring and Autumn Annals of Master Yan. Good evening. This is Bedside Book Voice. Tonight we read the Spring and Autumn Annals of Master Yan. If you are already lying down, dim the lamp a little more. Set the phone farther away. Pull the blanket up. This book is not a novel. It is a collection of Yanzi's words and deeds, compiled in the Warring States period. It records how a short-statured prime minister of Qi used wit, frugality, and indirect remonstrance to protect the people in chaotic times, and to protect himself as well. Our reading list calls it this: A Short Man's Great Wisdom, Yan Ying's Humorous Diplomacy and the Art of Speaking Truth to Power. That is the thread we follow tonight. You do not need to memorize chapter titles or finish the whole book. Just follow my voice through a few scenes you will not forget. Yanzi's mission to Chu, and the line about oranges south of the Hui becoming oranges, north of the Hui becoming bitter trifoliate oranges. The court story of 2 peaches killing 3 warriors. And the man in patched clothes eating plain grain, daring to tell Duke Jing of Qi that if this goes on, the state is finished. If you fall asleep halfway, that is fine. Yanzi will not scold you. I will not either. Let me set the rules first. You do not need to memorize. You do not need to understand everything. You certainly do not need to take notes. What you carry away are a few ways of living you can use tomorrow. How to stand before the powerful without groveling or posturing. How to slip the truth inside a joke. How to live simply even when you hold high office. How to behave when the blade is at your throat, neither kneeling to the wrong side nor pretending to be on it. As for that short prime minister who embarrassed the King of Chu, and what exactly made the other states stop looking down on Qi, tuck that question beside your pillow. We will come back to it before the night is over. You do not need to memorize a map of the spring and autumn states before you listen. Qi lay in the east. Chu in the south. Jin in the west. Lu nearby. A rough sense of direction is enough. The point is not a geography exam. The point is how Yanzi walked a tightrope between kingdoms. When the other side dug a pit, he did not jump in. He filled the pit, planted a tree, and made them flush with shame. That skill is called diplomacy. It is also called knowing how to be human among humans. First, meet Yan Ying in this book. Yan Ying, courtesy name Pingzhong, was a man of Qi. Scholars differ slightly on his dates, but he lived roughly in the middle and late spring and autumn period. He served Duke Ling, Duke Shuang, and Duke Jing of Qi, and was prime minister for decades. Historical records describe him as short in stature and ordinary in appearance. Yet 3 generations of Qi rulers could not do without him. Confucius once said of Pingzhong that he knew how to stay in relation with people, and the longer you knew him, the more respect he earned. That praise is not about looks. It is about the stickiness of character. Who wrote the Spring and Autumn Annals of Master Yan? Scholars still argue. Tradition ascribes it to Yanzi himself or to his followers. Modern scholarship mostly treats it as a Warring States compilation by people of Qi, mixing record with legend and fable. You need not read every line as courtroom transcript. But the big stories and the general direction often align with the Zhou tradition and the records of the grand historian. Legend and history should be kept apart. The tale of 2 peaches killing 3 warriors is extremely dramatic. Some suspect it is largely parable. Stories like the mission to Chu, remonstrance over killing a bird, and declining lavish carriages appear again and again in older texts and seem more reliable. Tonight we follow the spirit of the book. We do not pretend every scene was live broadcast. The book has 8 sections: inner chapters, outer chapters, remonstrance upper and lower, questions upper and lower, miscellany upper and lower. You need not memorize those names tonight. Know only this. It records Yanzi on diplomatic missions and answering foreign courts. It records how he advised his own ruler at home. And it holds many small stories about governing, thrift, and reading people. It reads like an ancient casebook. The characters are vivid. The dialogue is plentiful. It suits bedtime listening very well. Place Yanzi back in his age. In the spring and autumn period, Qi was an eastern power on the sea, commercially strong, one of the great contenders for hegemony. After Duke Huan of Qi, national strength rose and fell. By Yanzi's generation, Jin and Chu pressed from outside. Powerful ministers held sway within. The Tian clan grew stronger year by year. Rulers sometimes wanted glory through war, sometimes through display. Yanzi stood in the middle. He was neither a poet who only recited verses, nor a general who only fought. He was prime minister. Every day he handled taxes, diplomacy, personnel, palace building, and punishment. When you read the spring and autumn annals of Master Yan, you smell something very practical underneath the elegant speech. People power. State expense. Treaties. Hard things. Duke Ling, Duke Shuang, and Duke Jing of Qi had very different temperaments. Under Ling, Yanzi was younger and often urged restraint in spending. Zhuang's court was turbulent. The crisis of Cui Zhu came in that reign. Jing ruled longest. Yanzi's remonstrance against excessive hunting, against building towers, against killing a bird, mostly belonged to Jing's time. Across 3 reigns he did not change his face to flatter each lord. But his manners shifted when it had to. Soft where softness served. Hard where hardness was required. Do not imagine him as a comedian who never stopped smiling. He was the man who, in Cui Zhu's hall, would not weep and beg for his life. Now for the most famous diplomatic episode in the book, one almost everyone has heard in half a line. Oranges south of the Huai are oranges. North of the Huai they become bitter trifoliate oranges. The story comes from Yanzi's mission to Chu. The King of Chu wanted to humiliate this short prime minister. First he opened a small side gate beside the city wall and told Yanzi to enter there. Yanzi showed no anger. He only said, "When I am sent to a dog country, I use the dog gate. Today I am sent to Chu. I should use the main gate." The king had to open the proper gate and receive him. That was round 1. Logic turned back against the setter of the trap. No cursing. The other side had to close the scene themselves. At the banquet, the King of Chu arranged for 2 warriors to escort a man of Qi past the hall and asked loudly what crime the man had committed. The answer was theft. The king looked at Yanzi and said, "Are the people of Qi good at stealing?" He meant to degrade all of Qi in public. Yanzi stood, unhurried. "I have heard that south of the Huai, oranges are oranges. North of the Huai, the same leaf becomes bitter trifoliate orange. The leaves look alike. The fruit tastes different. Why? Because water and soil differ. People born in Qi do not steal. Enter Chu and they steal. It is the water and soil that make it so. In plain words, it is not that Qi teaches theft. It is that your environment here teaches people badly." The king could only laugh and accept defeat. A sage is not someone you play games with. Close your eyes and listen, and you feel a very clever counterstroke. No shouting in the street. No pounding the table. A metaphor returns the insult and leaves the other side no ground to call you crude. That is one core of Yanzi's diplomacy. Give a step down. Also leave a sting. In the struggle among states, strength mattered. So did speech. A prime minister abroad represented the dignity of a whole country. Yanzi was short. His presence was not. Quick wit and measure did the work. Later generations often paired this mission with the 4 words, Yanzi's mission to Chu. In fiction and opera he is sometimes painted as a trickster imp. In the original book, the wit sits on national dignity and the measure of an envoy. If you represent a team or a company abroad, you might ask yourself this. When someone needles you, besides anger, is there a response that neither loses ground nor smashes the room? Yanzi's answer is to use a metaphor the other side can understand, return the insult, and leave them a path to retreat with face intact. The mission to Chu has more. The King of Chu once asked, if Qi attacks Chu, what then? Yanzi answered, I can present an army of 100,000. If your majesty sends gifts of silk and coin, they will circulate among high and low. If anyone is displeased, cut him down. The words sound hard. They are really a reminder. War costs money and lives. Before a ruler moves the sword lightly, he should think of the people. Similar passages appear often in the spring and autumn annals of Master Yan. Diplomacy is not only verbal combat. It hides a cool accounting of the cost of war. If you negotiate by daylight, remember this. The sharpest counter sometimes is not volume. It is making the other side feel their own unreason. When Yanzi returned from Chu, Duke Jing asked whether he was angry at how the King of Chu had treated him. Yanzi said, when the insufficient are seen, it is the envoy who is shown. When the sufficient are seen, it is the Lord who is shown. The King of Chu was rude. Chu lost face. If I lost my composure, she would lose face. An envoy represents the state. Whether to rage must be charged to the right account. That makes emotional discipline very clear. The stupidest reply to humiliation is to pull yourself down to the other person's level. Yanzi countered on the spot. At home he did not urge immediate revenge. That is another layer of measure. There is another mission to Chu detail people often skip. The King of Chu asked, she has clever craftsmen who make machines. Why do you not show them to me? Yanzi replied, the craftsmen of my state can make machines. They cannot make machine hearts. Again, one sentence separates showing off skill from showing off intent. Among states, they competed not only in arms but in who could stay calm longest. In the outer chapters, Yanzi's missions read like psychological contests. The other side digs. He fills the hole and plants a tree, so they feel ashamed to dig again. Here is another story many remember from the book, 2 Peaches Killing 3 Warriors. Under Duke Jing, 3 warriors had merit so great it overshadowed the throne. Gongsun Jie, Tian Kaijian, and Gu Yezi. They relied on their deeds and threw their weight around at court. The duke worried. Yanzi offered a plan. Grant 2 peaches and let the 3 men argue merit to decide who eats. Gongsun Jie and Tian Kaijian spoke first, each took a peach. Gu Yezi later described saving the ruler, slaying a giant turtle in the water, carrying the duke across the river. His merit outweighed theirs. Yet no peach remained. He felt shamed, drew his sword, and killed himself. The other 2, seeing him dead, felt shame as well, and followed. 3 warriors removed by 2 peaches. The story reads cold. Some call it fable, not strict history. Yet it has lived more than 2,000 years because it sees through one thing. Men drunk on their own merit fear not the blade but the ranking of face. Yanzi used no soldiers. He used rules and honor to make the strong destroy themselves. You need not learn this to harm others. You can learn the clarity in it. Some conflicts, met head-on, wound both sides. Set a situation that forces self-examination and you may spare much blood. It also reminds us. Merit swollen with pride was already dangerous. The peaches were only the fuse. The powder sat in the heart. Before Gu Yezi killed himself, he spoke of saving Duke Jing in the river, slaying the turtle, carrying the ruler across. Gongsun Jie and Tian Kaizhang each had their own deeds of rescue. None of the three was simply a villain. Their merit was too large, their air too proud, their sense of limit too thin. Yanzi's scheme was not jealousy of brave men. It was helping the ruler defuse 3-time charges. When you read this tale, do not only ask how to harm someone. Ask how to carry great merit without letting it carry you to ruin. Before honor and disgrace, one step back is often safer than one step forward. Yanzi himself held the highest position in Qi and lived with the simplest habits. The book records him eating husked millet, wearing cloth fur, riding a broken cart behind a thin horse. Duke Jing could not bear it and wanted to grant him horses and new robes. Yanzi declined again and again. The state has worries. Flatterers crowd the ruler's side. Your servant dare not accept rich gifts and feel at ease. This was not performance for the crowd. It was political stance. If the prime minister shares hardship with the people, he is standing to urge the ruler toward thrift. If he luxuriates first, his words grow light. Once Duke Jing drank happily and wanted to kill a bird that would not sing. Yanzi remonstrated. In former days the late ruler killed birds that could sing. Today your majesty would kill one that cannot sing. That teaches the people they have nowhere to set hand or foot. The duke understood and spared the bird. Again, no grand sermon. One concrete bird made the ruler feel the absurdity himself. The art of indirect remonstrance works like this. Replace what you mean, do not kill at will, with what it looks like to kill a bird that cannot sing. The ruler hears it and still feels magnanimous. Duke Jing loved hunting and loved building palaces. Yanzi did not stop advising. The lower remonstrance chapters record the duke building a road palace and high terrace while the people's strength wore thin. Yanzi said, one who rules the people should restrain desire. They also record the duke wanting to punish those who failed to report crimes. Yanzi thought the law should not be too harsh lest the innocent suffer. These lines sound like old sermons today. 2,000 years ago, a minister who kept telling the ruler, stop exhausting the people, needed courage and skill. Yanzi's skill was often to affirm the ruler's good intent first, then point to consequence. If you do this, where will the people go? Duke Jing once rode swift horses and drove a 6-horse carriage. Yanzi remonstrated. Your Majesty rides the finest horses. What will the people ride? Your Majesty drives 6 horses. What will they drive? In plain words, if you sit in the best cart and the people lack even a broken one, how can they keep pace with you? Another time the Duke drank deep and wanted to ride to the sea. Yanzi said, Your Majesty is drunk and would take a seaboat. That is perilous. When the Duke sobered he said, I was drunk and nearly lost the state. Details in such stories may not all be verifiable line by line. The spirit is consistent. When a ruler follows a whim, those below run until their legs break. Yanzi was like an old steward who hands a cup of cool water when the ruler's head runs hot. The upper remonstrance chapters also record Duke Jing asking, Is governing urgent? Yanzi said, Yes. What is urgent? To settle the people. What settles the people? Restraint in spending. See how he always pulls the answer back to the people and to expense. Not that politics does not matter. The floor of politics is stated first. If the people are unsettled, politics, however polished, is empty. If you manage projects, you might ask yourself whether your organization has Duke Jing impulses. A mood strikes and a big project launches, while no one speaks of people power or maintenance cost. He also dared push back on small matters. Once Duke Jing raged and wanted to kill someone. Yanzi entered and asked who was to die. The Duke said someone had been disrespectful. Yanzi said, "I have heard that lords who need not rage to inspire awe are truly awe-inspiring. Today your majesty rages, yet awe is insufficient. I wish your majesty would cultivate virtue first." Again he circles around and turns kill to establish fear into your virtue is not enough, so you are frustrated. The Duke listened. If you lead a team, remember this. When the other person is on fire, shouting back is not always the move. Sometimes you guide the flame toward the problem that actually needs solving. If you are still awake at this point, one small favor. If any scene tonight made you smile or stirred you a little, consider a like and a subscribe to Bedside Book Voice. You need not comment now. Tomorrow morning with tea is fine. We continue. What follows is known to fewer people, yet shows Yanzi's spine most clearly. Under Duke Xuang, the powerful minister Cui Zhu murdered his lord. Cui Zhu forced the officials to swear an oath. Refuse and die. Yanzi stood in the hall. Cui Zhu pressed him to swear. Yanzi said, "Cui Zhu murdered his lord. Death is too light a punishment for him. What good would it do me to follow him?" Then he lay beside the dead ruler's body, wept, and walked out. Cui Zhu wanted to kill him yet did not dare. He let him go. In this scene there is no humor. Only hardness. Humor can protect a body sometimes. It cannot protect every body. When the ruler is slain and great principle stands before you, Yanzi chose not to weep and beg, not to swear falsely. He spoke truth before the corpse. Historians record this episode in ways that cross-check with the Zhuo tradition. You cannot read the spring and autumn annals of Master Yan only for wit. You must read moments like this. He knew survival would be hard. He still would not trade one false sentence for life. Later he served Duke Jing. Some questioned whether serving two lords showed loyalty. In chaotic times, keeping the state and keeping the people sometimes asks more than empty talk of blind fidelity. Yanzi served 3 reigns not because he lacked principle. His principle included the people. Whoever held the throne, he urged that person to harm the people less. Before Cui Zhu's crisis, Duke Xuang had an affair with Cui Zhu's wife. Xuang went to Cui's house and was trapped and killed. That is a major case in the Zhuo tradition. We need not unpack every thread tonight. Know only that Xuang's death was not one cause but entanglement of powerful ministers, private grudges, and politics. After the chaos, Yanzi still served Qi. That is not absence of right and wrong. He put whether Qi still existed ahead of where he personally stood. That choice still provokes argument today. What the book leaves us is how he kept speaking on the ruins, kept advising, kept shielding the people. In the Lower Questions chapter there is a famous exchange. Duke Jing asked, "Are there worthy men under heaven?" Yanzi said, "Yes." "Who?" Yanzi said, "Your Majesty's virtue has not arrived. The people's transformation has not arrived. The state is not well governed. How could there be worthy men?" It sounds like scolding the ruler. It is really inverted logic. Worthiness depends on what kind of state you build. The ruler asks about worthies. Yanzi answers, "First ask yourself." Another man might have lost his head. Yanzi survived because Jing knew he truly served Qi. There is another story. Duke Jing saw Yanzi's house was small and wanted to grant him a large mansion north of the city. Yanzi declined. One who lives near the market understands the people's profit. Near the market one hears sounds and knows the people's suffering. He preferred to live beside the bustle, hearing peddlers, quarrels, and weeping, rather than move into a deep compound and pretend he heard nothing. Lying in bed you might ask whether decision-makers should stay closer to the field. Yanzi's answer was yes. A small house was not poverty. It was deliberate refusal to lose touch. He showed guests his garden. The garden was tiny, room for one pond and a few vegetables. The guest said, "This is too shabby." Yanzi said, "Enough to eat, enough to cover the body. That is enough for a small man. Soft words, hard spine. I need no more. Enough is enough." In Qi, luxury was not light. When the prime minister lived thus, the people saw it. The ruler saw it. The weight of his speech changed. The book also records how Yanzi read people and used them. He recommended Yu Shifu and once drove the carriage for him himself. Learning Yu Shifu was imprisoned, he released him in person. He said, "Yu Shifu is worthy." Even at the end of a hanging rope he still knew what a gentleman should be. That is the eye for talent. Not in robes, but in whether one keeps measure in crisis. He also said of gentlemen and lords, when the Lord acts with righteousness, gentlemen lightly give their lives. When the Lord acts with cruelty, gentlemen cling to life. Again the words turned back to the ruler. However you want those below to behave, look first at how you behave. Beyond Chu, the book records missions to Jin, Lu, and elsewhere. A recurring theme runs through them. If Qi wanted hegemony, it could not rely on force alone. Ritual, thrift, and winning hearts mattered. Once he told Duke Jing, thick virtue deserves high rank. Level government deserves rich salary. Merit and character should justify position and pay, not the reverse. Today that sounds like a personnel principle. Then it was a warning to the whole aristocracy. Do not think birth decides all. Govern badly and the higher you sit, the more dangerous you are. On a mission to Jin, Yanzi met provocation. The men of Jin asked, "Your lord is worthy, and you are prime minister. Why are you so short?" Yanzi answered, "Because our lord is worthy, he sends the worthy to serve as minister. Your servant is unworthy, therefore short. Praise the ruler, diminish himself, turn short stature into unworthiness, and leave them nothing to say." On a mission to Lu, discussing ritual and music, he stressed that Qi and Lu shared ancestral roots and should meet with ritual, not pressure with force. In interstate diplomacy, blades sat behind the words. Yanzi's words often saved face for Qi and gave the other side a step down, delaying explosion. Once Duke Jing asked why Qi fell short of Jin. Yanzi said, "Worthy men surround the Jin ruler. Flatterers surround your majesty." The duke raged. "You praise Jin and slander me." Yanzi said, "Your servant dare not. I wish your majesty would remove flatterers and employ the worthy." Again he guided anger toward personnel. In the upper and lower questions chapters, Jing asks and Yanzi uses the question to remonstrate, like a bedtime chat where someone suddenly inserts, "Have you thought about who is speaking beside you?" One more detail to stand Yanzi up fully. His father Yan Ruo was also a grand officer of Qi. Yanzi inherited the family path but did not coast on birth. Records say he was broadly learned with strong memory, able to answer lords and handle daily administration. By day he sat reciting affairs. In evening he sat debating with retainers. Do not reduce him to a witty short man. He was a working prime minister. Wit was the surface. Governing was the core. The miscellany lower chapters hold small stories like fables. Someone saw Yanzi eating porridge and thought him poor, wanted to give grain. Yanzi refused. My salary suffices. I am not poor. I eat the Lord's salary. I do not accept unnamed favors. Again, boundaries. I may live simply. I cannot casually accept personal favors, or the business of state becomes a web of obligation. Read enough and you see Yanzi's thrift is not stinginess. It is clarity. What may be taken? What may not? He kept a ruler in his heart. After Yanzi died, Duke Jing came to mourn by ritual and wept bitterly. Records say he was buried simply, plain coffin, no surplus wealth at home. The Duke said, this grand officer was incorrupt. Qi nearly lost itself. Read that backward. If the Prime Minister had been greedy, Qi would have rotted long ago. Simple burial was not poverty. It was the period at the end of a life of restraint. You need not copy his funeral rites. You can copy the consistency. Live as you mean to live. Die as you mean to end. Leave no mess for those who come after. When his mother died, Yanzi mourned with extreme simplicity, mat cover, staff, no display. Some mocked him for being too thin in ritual. He said, ritual means fitting measure. Rites should suit the case, not grow thicker to prove filial piety. In an age of heavy mourning, his simple rites matched his repeated urging of thrift at court. In the inner chapters you find many passages on burial and sacrifice. The core is always the same. Do not let ceremony crush the living. The miscellany upper chapters record someone urging Yanzi to buy a fine house and keep beautiful concubines. Yanzi said, I govern through the virtue of restraint. I dare not indulge desire. They also record him in worn clothes and broken shoes still attending court. Duke Jing asked, your clothes are shabby. Are you not cold? Yanzi said, I wear clothes to keep warm, not for display. What the Lord grants, I dare not refuse. What I receive, I wear until it is worn out. This dialogue joins simplicity with respect for the ruler. I wear old clothes not to defy you but as duty. What you give, I use to the end. Soft speech. Firm stance. Another time Duke Jing asked how to govern a state. Yanzi answered in 9 words. Cultivate virtue and righteousness. Thicken custom. Settle the people. No ornament. Asked about armies, Yanzi said when virtue is insufficient, armies are insufficient to rely on. That differs from many voices that shout enrich the state and strengthen the army. He did not reject defense. He said when hearts scatter, more soldiers are only a lid on boiling water. If you manage people, ask whether you have spent thought on custom and on whether people feel secure, or only stared at metrics. In Yanzi's later years, Qi still faced crisis. The Tian clan's power grew daily. There were times when Duke Jing listened poorly. The book records Yanzi telling him, Your Majesty does not see the Tian clan measuring grain with a dough, then with a zhong, and the people flock to them. The public granary grows less. This was warning. Power rests not only on title but on who makes life a little better for the people. Jing did not fully listen. The words remain. Decades after Yanzi's death, the Tian clan replaced Qi. Historians looking back feel his warnings were not empty air. We need not read prophecy tonight. Read the sorrow of a prime minister who saw structural risk and could not push it through. He tried to set things right. He could not have everything his way. After his death, Qi gradually slid toward disorder. That is later story. While he lived, he pulled Qi back again and again from the impulse to fight one more war, from the vanity of building one more tower. For one person, that is already much. When we read the Spring and Autumn Annals of Master Yan, we need not demand he save an entire age. Learn how he used a limited position to shield a little more of the people and speak one more true sentence. That is enough. Confucius praised Yanzi, as we said. The longer you know him, the more respect he earns. Once Zigong asked, Yanzi served 3 lords with full heart. Is that not loyalty? Confucius said, I follow the people. The meaning runs deep. Loyalty is judged by benefit to the people, not by slogan. Yanzi across 3 reigns was not a weather vane. Under each ruler he tried to pull the state a little lighter, a little more toward righteousness. That loyalty is harder than blind loyalty, and more useful. The records of the Grand Historian has a joint biography of Guanzhong and Yan Ying. Guanzhong helped Duke Huan of Qi to hegemony, enriching the state and strengthening armies. Yanzi served 3 lords, famed for thrift and remonstrance. Different eras, different paths, yet both made Qi memorable in history. Sima Chen writes Yan Ying is 5 feet in height, eating husked millet, wearing worn cloth, 3 reigns without losing standing among lords. Reading the records, you feel the historian's respect lies not in how vast the achievement was but in how steady the person was. That is the same man as the joking prime minister in the Spring and Autumn Annals of Master Yan, only drawn more sparely by the historian's brush. The Spring and Autumn Annals of Master Yan never became a scripture like the Analects or Mencius. Yet its stories spread extremely wide. The metaphor of orange-and-trifoliate-orange. 2 peaches killing 3 warriors. They entered idioms, opera, daily speech. Many who never opened the original still know half a line. What does that show? Yanzi's wisdom does not depend on obscurity. It depends on being memorable, usable, tellable. A bedtime reading channel loves it for the same reason. Living characters. Short stories. Truth tucked inside laughter. You finish without feeling drained. In the Han, Lu Xiang organized ancient books and recorded the Yanzi text. Later commentaries and anthologies often used Yanzi stories to teach diplomacy and indirect remonstrance. Yuan drama and Mingqing fiction loved retelling the mission to Chu and the 2 peaches. You need not chase every version. Know only that this book lives more in mouths than on shelves. Many people know Yanzi from stories, not from 8-chapter titles. That suits bedtime listening. We speak of the person, not the table of contents. The inner chapters also hold retainer stories. Yanzi kept gentlemen without limiting himself to great houses. Some debated policy. Some remonstrated directly. He said, gentlemen are the vessels of the state. Sharp vessels make a strong state. He also said, if the Lord loves courage, gentlemen love courage. If the Lord loves wealth, gentlemen love wealth. Again, the root points back to the ruler. If you lead a team, ask how much of the mood below is actually modeled above. Yanzi did not dump all responsibility on the ruler. He never let the ruler hear only what pleased the ear. Once Duke Jing asked, the enemy crosses the border. What then? Yanzi said, repair government and settle the people, and the enemy will not dare come. If government is not repaired and the people are unsettled, even without an enemy the state is in peril. It sounds roundabout. It is really priority of inner trouble. Outside attack matters less if inside has already rotted. Anyone can step on you then. In the spring and autumn and warring states periods states fought constantly. Yanzi kept saying settle the people first. Not because he was timid. Because he had done the accounting. Where does war money come from? After war, who farms the fields? If you want to open the original later, I suggest 3 kinds of stories. First, outer chapters on the mission to Chu, for diplomacy. Second, upper and lower remonstrance, for advising rulers. Third, short fables in the miscellany chapters, for human nature. You need not swallow all 8 sections at once. Read one tale before sleep, like an old prime minister chatting beside your bed. The original is rich in dialogue. Tonight we spread it in spoken language. When you turn the pages later, the scenes will match. 2 easy points people overlook. First, Yanzi's humor was never to show off cleverness. It was to make words enter the ear. The King of Chu and Duke Jing were not fools. Hard confrontation would have broken the face between them. He chose metaphor, story, and making the other feel their own absurdity. That is how he passed again and again. Second, his thrift was never performance of poverty. It was political ethics. Luxuriate yourself and you lose face urging the ruler toward restraint. Lie far from the market and you lose standing to say you understand the people. Those 2 points together are the floor under short man's great wisdom. Not endless scheming. Stand straight in the body and the words will stand. Compared with the stratagems of the warring states, the spring and autumn annals of Master Yan has less of the vertical strategist's exaggeration. It reads more like a cheap prime minister's work diary plus casebook. Compared with the Zhuo tradition, it does not chronicle every great event. It follows one man. You need not rank it among the 24 histories. Know only that in Chinese memory the 2 characters Yanzi stand for a kind of official. The body may be short. The spine must be straight. The mouth may be soft. The heart must be hard. Humor upward. Thrift downward. Compared with the cold calculation of technique and positional power in Han Fizi and the stratagems, Yanzi walks a middle road. He will use a scheme like 2 peaches. Yet day after day he urges virtue, the people, and restraint in spending. He is neither pure moralist nor pure schemer. He is a practical remonstrating minister. Listening before sleep, you need not choose sides between ruthless and humane. Feel only this. In chaotic times, to shield the people, shield the ruler, and shield yourself at once, already marks a master. If you hear the spring and autumn annals of Master Yan as a book for work or life, 3 words can travel with you. First, change the metaphor. Do not crash head-on. Use orange-and-trifoliate-orange, bird and song, to slip the truth inside. Second, no stopping. When the house is enough, the food enough, the cart can move, ask for no more. Once you take more, you cannot urge others to take less. Third, do not falsify at the hard moment. In Cui Zhu's hall humor fails. Truth must still be spoken. Whether you live is for heaven. The words cannot be false. These 3 words belong not only to prime ministers but to anyone who must speak and choose. 1 layer more for those who like to think. Why could Yanzi last 3 reigns? Not because he flattered well. Because rulers felt, this man stings me, yet he stings for the state. Jing could hear him on hunting, on building towers, on careful punishment. That shows rulers also need someone who dares speak and helps them break. Most of us have no throne. We have family, colleagues, clients. You need not be as sharp as Yanzi. You can learn half of him. Truth spoken so it can enter the ear often beats truth shouted through the room. If you manage people, remember one more line. Yanzi did not keep urging do less. He urged do fewer wrong things, fewer costly things, fewer things that send the bill to the people. Building towers, hunting, campaigning are not absolutely forbidden. Ask who pays in coin. Who pays in life? Who breathes hard beneath the tower? Those 3 questions have not expired in 2,000 years. You need not go to court tomorrow. Keep the 3 questions in a drawer inside you. Pull them open when needed. Some read 2 peaches killing 3 warriors and remember only scheming, only Yanzi's coldness. Yet more of the book urges less killing, less forced labor, less suffering for the people. The peach story is the exception, the cold handling of men whose merit overshadowed the throne. Thrift, remonstrance over the bird, declining granted carriages, those were his daily weather. Do not read only the harshest tale. Read the gentle repeated remonstrance too. Then you have met the whole person. One modern layer of comparison, lightly offered, only to help you remember. Orange and trifoliate orange on the mission to chew, does it not resemble attributing outcome to environment? The person unchanged, the platform changed, the result changed. Remonstrance over killing the bird, does it not resemble turning abstract morality into one concrete absurd example until the other side withdraws? Declining a mansion, living near the market, does it not resemble deliberately refusing to drift too far from the field? Refusing false oath in Cui Zhu's hall, does it not resemble a bottom-line moment where technique ends and truth alone remains? You need not map every parallel to your life. One that sticks makes tonight worthwhile. One thing ties back to the opening loop. Why did the King of Chu finally say a sage is not someone you play games with? Because he saw that the short prime minister represented not one man but a state's dignity and intelligence. What made other states stop looking down on Qi? Quick wit. Restraint. An envoy who did not disgrace his post. A prime minister who did not grasp. A ruler who could still hear a few words of advice. The body was short. Qi was not short. The speech was soft. The spine was not soft. That is the answer to the opening question. Before we close, let us gather the loop. At the start I said a short man embarrassed the King of Chu and set 3 warriors to destroy themselves. None of that was to show off cleverness. It was so Qi would not stand 1 inch shorter before other states, so Qi would shed a little less blood in its own halls. Yanzi's whole life, mouth sharp as a blade when needed, heart soft as cotton when needed. Metaphor against strong enemies. Remonstrance against a willful ruler. No bending when great principle stood before him. Lying tonight you need not vow to become prime minister. Carry away only this. Words may be soft. Principle need not be. Life may be simple. Do not save on hardness where hardness is owed. If this is your first time meeting Yanzi, tomorrow it is enough to remember one image. The orange on the mission to chew. The 2 peaches in court. The unsworn oath before Cui Zhu. Classics need not fill the head in one night. Like an old photo on the bedside table, one glance when needed is enough. You need not open all 8 sections of the Spring and Autumn Annals of Master Yan. With stories, measure, a little humor, and a little hardness, you have met the man. If you are still awake, leave one word in the comments. Do you remember the orange metaphor more, or 2 peaches killing 3 warriors, or the unsworn oath in Cui Zhu's hall? Short is fine. Subscribe and the bell can wait until tomorrow morning. If you often come to Bedside Book Voice, you know we keep walking slowly through the classics. Next time we may linger again in the wind of spring and autumn and warring states, or open another book of speaking truth to power. We will meet again in the pages. The night is deep. Put what you heard into a dream, or into the 1 minute before tomorrow's meeting. No memorizing. No exam. If you can recall oranges south of the Huai or 2 peaches, tonight was worth it. If you wake tomorrow remembering only that Yanzi lived in a small house and listened to the market, that is enough. A book need not finish in one night. One image that keeps you company through a day means the listening was not wasted. If you forget everything else but remember short stature, straight spine, that still counts. This is Bedside Book Voice. Good night, see you in the pages.